my hands are cold again. But guys, like I was saying years ago, I tried to salvage as much meat as I could off of deer. Because back when I was younger, I couldn't kill deer. I learned how to kill deer in my 50-something years. But I tried to get as much meat off that deer as I could. Cutting the meat out between the ribs to throw in your ground meat and stuff. Well, all that stuff's so chewy and stuff, it just ruins your good ground meat. So now I don't even fool with the rib cage. I've tried several times. To me, it's just a waste of time in cooking. It ain't enough meat on them. And then the meat that you get, it's too chewy for my liking. You ain't gonna get a lot of meat like on no pork ribs or beef ribs. So now I'm gonna get you over here and we're gonna start deboning and getting the meat off these shoulders. Now shoulders ain't the best meat because it's got a lot of gristles, and that's why I usually leave it whole, cook the shoulder whole as a roast, and then we would take the roast out and get the juices off of it, shred the rest of the meat that was roasted in the crock pot, put barbecue sauce on it, and have barbecue sandwiches out of what was left over. A lot of people think you get a whole lot of deer meat out of one deer. In reality, you don't get that much deer meat out of a deer, especially when the deer don't weigh 120 pounds. And that's 120 pounds on its hoof. I'm talking about before you field dress it. And there are some big deer in this parts, but you'll rarely kill a 300-pound deer down here where I live. The people that say they killed a 300-pound deer, when you ask them did they put it on the scale, they'll say no. Well, I guarantee you, even if it was the biggest deer, it's only going to weigh about 250 pounds. Rare occasions there's a 300. You just have to go through here, like I said, just try to keep the best meat. You got so much of this old white, I really don't know the proper name of what that is, but it's between each muscles in your shoulders and stuff. And if you leave that in there, it just makes your meat chewy. And then that bullet got up there into this shoulder, so it bloodshot a lot of it on the top. Just try to get the best meat you can without getting any of that gristle and tendons and whatever. Like I said, I've hunted all my life and don't know the proper name of the old white skin there on top. Just like that right there. You want to get all that off. Unless you want some chewy meat. You can cook that mess all you want to, and it won't get tender. So as you can see, the shoulders is the worst thing to cut up. Again, that's why I never cut them up. I always just kept them to throw in the crock pot. Because when you cook it in the crock pot, this meat falls apart. Then you can just take your fork, pull the meat right off that stuff, and you ain't gonna be eating it. Or wrap them in tin foil and cook them on the grill. But still, anytime I do that or put them on the smoker, I cook them with a lot of liquid on them to get the meat to cook off the bone. And then if you want to take them out of your pan and liquid for the last 30 minutes on your smoker or grill. But I ain't got no set way, I just go to whacking. I mean, shoulder and the hips is two different things. The hips you can kind of debone out of each muscle and separate it to where the shoulder blades, they just, y'all see I run my knife right down the bone right there, but you don't end up with half-inch thick, and then you got to flip it over and fillet that off of it. I'm gonna just whack it off the bone here, and then I'll start cleaning it up when I get it all off. Some of them you can try to run down and get the close to the bone and shoulder blade. Like on that side, the shoulder blade's a little muscle. You get that off. Actually would have been easier just to save these shoulders and went and shot another deer for the hams to grind up. Cause deer season, at the point I'm doing this, ain't over yet. I gotta warm my hands, guys. But I ain't gonna continue to bore you showing you this here on the shoulders. Like I said, I know somebody's better than me, but that's why I ain't never fooled with doing this on shoulders all my life. Always killed enough deer, I just kept the shoulders whole, because you can see, even after you get it off, then you got to go clean all that mess off of it. Just ain't a whole lot of deer meat on a deer shoulder. That's why people think you get a lot of deer meat off of a deer. Y'all seen what I got off the back strap and the tenderloin. And then if you got a deer with a big neck, which most of the neck meat's right here off that neck because I peeled it out. That's the neck meat right here. You might get a little bit more off out there, but it ain't gonna be much. Off in doe deer, and doe deer is what I like to keep my meat off of, not no buck. Alright, that's all I'm gonna get off that bone. I had some dogs, I ain't got no dogs no more. Coyotes, they enjoy eating that when I go dump it out. Guys, what y'all don't see behind the scenes is I done stopped several times to get my hands in front of that heater over there. My fingers get so cold I can't feel them. But yeah, the old shoulders just ain't much meat on them. I know some of you that watching this that live up north, y'all got them deer that weigh, actually do weigh 300 pounds, so y'all get a lot more meat off of a deer than we do. And again, especially when I'm talking about doe deer. I shoot a buck there, that's usually one that I donate to somebody who's asked me if I killed a deer. Don't want it, they want the meat. Because horns don't mean nothing to me no more. I give up on killing that big monster in my life. I think the biggest one I ever killed was a 142. So right now, if a buck deer comes out, if he's got horns this tall, or if he's got horns this flat, if he's not over that 142 that I killed years ago, I'd just soon shoot a doe. So now I'm finna go through and clean all this meat up best I can. Now you are gonna get a little more gristle into your hamburger meat. Or I will by doing this, because I ain't gonna get every bit of it out of every little piece. If you did, you ain't gonna get no meat at all out of the shoulder. You almost get as much meat out of a little doe's neck as you do both shoulders. Good meat, that is. Well, how are you? You gonna come join us?
Well, I'm not joining you.
Guys, how's she gonna cut up meat in a white jacket? Huh? What y'all think about that? Well, we got through cutting up the shoulders, and I was saying, when you get through cleaning up shoulder meat, that's all you got off 2 shoulders. It just ain't worth it. So now we're finna go out there and we're gonna get our hams and start on it. Maybe I can get my wife to help me get a little red on that white. Hey guys, wife didn't want no part of this today. But she had brought me some pork fat. She had went to town this morning and picked us up some pork fat. Now at one time you could go to your butchers and they would give you pork fat. But everybody's learning how to make the most money they can with their businesses, and they know nowadays right here in deer season like this, now you got to buy it. So it looks like for a little less than 6 pounds of pork fat was $10.72. That's sad. So now we're finna go out there and I'm gonna show y'all what I do. I went out there and got a little more of the meat, went on and got it off the neck. Like I said, I don't fool with them ribs, that ain't nothing but old flabby stuff. We're gonna go out there, and if it wasn't so cold outside, you could debone them hams and get them hams meat and leave the bone hanging. But it's too cold out there for me, so what I'm gonna do is show y'all how I do it with the Sawzall. So I'm gonna get my Sawzall. And we're gonna go out there and I'm gonna show y'all how I do it, what I call the easy way, and then we'll bring the bone and all in here and cut it up on the table. But like I was saying, guys, if it wasn't so cold out here, you could take your knife and you could debone these hams right out here while it was hanging. But most of the time I do it like this. I'm gonna cut the backbone off, let the cavity hit the ground here to haul it off to the coyotes and bobcats later. Then I just cut it right down the side of the tailbone. I can lift off one ham and take inside. And once we get inside, I'll lay it on the table and cut the leg off back here. So let's go back inside now. So like the old saying goes, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to skin a deer. And once they come out with these Sawzalls, years ago I didn't have no battery power with them. But we used an electric one, and it just makes for things so easy. Then I get right back here. Find that knuckle right there where it bends at the bottom of that Just like with the ribs, you can get a few little bitty pieces right here. But I ain't making no big deal out of it. If we ain't got enough ground meat, we still got ground meat left over in the freezer. But if I needed more, I'd just go shoot another deer. I'm gonna throw this outside, and I'll get y'all over here and we'll start. You'll get way more meat out of this one ham than you did both shoulders. And it's better meat. Got these little kind of rubbery on bottom gloves. They do help my fingers last a little bit longer before they get cold. But on these hams here, I don't know if y'all can see, you see that white line? That's a muscle where it's, I try to go in there and just feel and separate them muscles like that. So guys, you can take one of these good muscles right here out of a ham and cut it into steak, and it's just as good as the back strap. Just feel and get right down there to your bone. And then I come right back around the bone. Actually, I'm gonna be taking out two muscles when I come back around this way. But they the smaller muscles. And I just keep flipping it around, and you see right here where this muscle goes in there. I got one chunk of muscle right there that you can make a roast out of. Now, by no means am I claiming to be a best butcher in doing this. I'm just showing y'all how I've always done it. But I like cleaning my meat up and getting all that gristle and stuff out of it as best I can. You ain't gonna get all of it out of it. There's a good muscle right there that's a roast. But you can see on that one I got part of another muscle on this edge. That's alright, because it's gonna be cut up and ground up. But right now all I'm doing is getting it off the bone, so I can clean it up a little better and cut it up in smaller pieces so it run through the grinder. Now some of these smaller pieces here, again, since it's just for ground meat, I'm just whacking and getting it off the bone. If I was getting it off for roast or steak, I'd try to do a little better job. But when it goes through that meat grinder, you ain't gonna know how it come off this bone, are you? That's how I look at it. As long as it's cut off this bone in little pieces. Thing about these gloves, even though they got the little rubber on them, it's still harder to hold on to that meat, but man, it helps my fingers. And that's about all I'm gonna do to that. We'll leave some on there for the dogs, coyotes, bobcats, stray dogs. Throw that and paint it. Now I'm gonna just start with these muscles. Try to get some of this cartilage off. Can't get that out this morning, cartilage. Get a lot bigger chunks of pure good meat off the hams, but you're still gonna have some. You ain't gonna get all that stuff off unless you waste a whole bunch of meat. I think that'll be good enough. Get it grind up good. Now I ain't making no sausage or nothing. I actually had another deer I took to my cuz. He owns a processor. They make some good different kinds of sausages. He brought me a sample of some pineapple pepper jack sausage they make. And I love pineapple on just about any kind of meat I cook on the grill. And I like that sausage, so I have a little young doe that I sent with him on one of our hunts to get some sausage made out of. And I'm doing my own ground meat and my own steaks. Now if you was cutting up steaks, I'd want to cut this out, stake it up across grain of the meat. But since it's just for a grinder, I ain't worried about what way the grain's running. I'm just cutting it in small enough pieces, poke in that grinder. But you guys, y'all see that? You take them big muscles out of there and you cut that up in steak. Cause that's all a back strap is the same muscle. It just ain't got no cartilage in it and stuff. And you take one of them big muscles and cut it out, and you can have you some good steaks just like that. But it also makes you best ground meat. The more time you're putting into this, the more meat you could get out of one deer. Like I said, when you can kill enough of them, and guys, I know that kind of sounds wasteful, but the thing is, nowadays, certain landowners have to kill so many deer. And they get what I call free tags. You don't even have to use your deer tags to get them, to kill them. And I got a couple places like that I can hunt. They just have to kill so many does every year to get off of their land. And they have to kill them. It don't matter if somebody needs them, wants them, or whatever. They have to kill so many a year. Well, it's easy to get enough deer meat without trying to get so ticky and get every little piece of meat. Actually, like I said, I should have just got another doe and not even food with deboning them shoulders. Put them in the freezer to cook whole, but I didn't. But I might get another. I still got time. And they still got deer that needs to be removed. wasn't even gonna grind no hamburger meat this year. And my mom told me the other day she was out. I said, well, I got plenty that's older in the freezer, needs to be out, cleaned out. I'll bring you some of that. But then when I got to looking, I'm like, well, I better go kill a deer and grind some more meat. By the time I give her some, stock her back up a little bit, we ain't gonna have as much as I would like. Now the best way we like using the ground meat is, even though I'm finna put this pork fat in it, we still like mixing it with beef hamburger meat when we make stuff out of it. One of our favorite things to make out of the ground meat is chili, which I like a lot of stuff made out of it. I can eat just ground deer meat with no fat put in it and make meals out of it. But they don't make the best burger, I will tell you that, without putting fat in it. And even the burgers, we like mixing them with ground beef. But the ground fat, if you don't put that pork fat in it, you can't hardly get ground venison to stay together to make a patty. A lot of people make bacon burgers, and it's got bacon mixed in it, different things. I think the deer my cuz is doing, he's gonna do me a few packs of some different stuff they've come up with just to test out. What he's trying to do is get me to like stuff, so I'll bring more deer over there and let him process them. I think give you some of that stuff to get you hooked on it where you won't. But bacon burger, I love BLTs, but I don't care nothing about bacon flavor on my hamburger. If I want bacon, I want a bacon sandwich. If I want a hamburger, I want a hamburger. I don't care about bacon flavors in my hamburger. See that, how tough that old gristle is right there? I'm just gonna throw that piece away. Now, some are just that white skin like that right there. It grinds up good enough. Like I said, you take forever trying to get all of that off. Them gristles like that right there, you leave that stuff in there, got lots of waste. I don't know if I'm gonna get done before I had to sharpen this knife. That's enough. Alright guys, y'all see one ham had more meat than 2 shoulders, and that's off of about 100. I don't even know if that deer would have weighed 120, maybe 100 pound, 110 pound deer. Alright guys, take a little break, give me some coffee. We've got one more ham to go, then I'll get back to y'all. Here we are. Might move right on to get my grinder right here and have it set up. If my fat stalled, it was pretty, yeah, it stalled. it done rode from town in the vehicle, so it's thawing out some. But anyway, I'll get back with y'all after I get the other ham cut up just like that.